Thank you, dear friends. First of all, let me start by thanking Andrei for hosting a fantastic Congress here in Zagreb. Joseph, merci pour tout ce que tu as fait pour nous, pour notre parti, and a special word of thanks to a very good friend, Manfred Weber. Manfred, you ran a fantastic campaign. You managed to convince, you participated, helped in convincing 200 million Europeans to participate in the European elections. And more than anything, you handled a very delicate situation with dignity and with always keeping the interest of the European People's Party at heart. Thank you for everything you have done. And I think I speak for everyone in expressing my views that what happened this year cannot be repeated in the next electoral cycle. Rules are rules, and they need to be respected by everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, last time I stood before you, I was leader of the opposition. This time I have the privilege to address you as the Prime Minister of Greece, and indeed, last summer, Greece was swept by a wind of change. On July 7th, Greek voters put an end to populism and gave my party, Nea Demokratia, a very clear mandate to form a strong majority government and set a new course for the country. And after years of recession and difficult times, Greeks are again facing the future with renewed optimism. And Greeks deserve pragmatic politics for a better future. Like Sebastian said, we're also in the process of governing from the political center, because we know that that's where the policies that deliver growth and progress without compromising social cohesion actually come from. Greeks supported our program, they trusted our leadership. So far we have delivered, and we intend to keep up the pace of reforms. We don't have any time to lose, because we have to make up for the lost time of 10 years of crisis. And the message I want to communicate to you today is very clear. Greece is no longer the poster child for Europe's problems. It's a confident country with a stable center-right EPP government ready to embrace the opportunities of the future. We have defeated the populists, both from the left but also from the right. As a matter of fact, we have eradicated the scourge of extreme right. They no longer are in parliament. If it can be done in Greece, it can also be done in your countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the new Commission, the new Parliament is facing many challenges as they begin their terms. I briefly want to touch upon two: migration and external border protection, and climate change. On the first issue, allow me to be very blunt. Europe can no longer pretend that the migration issue only affects the external border member states. The Dublin regulation is by now woefully inadequate to address the problem. Dear Margaritis, Vice President of the Commission, as you take over this important portfolio, we wish you good luck, and you know, as well as we do, that a common European asylum and border protection framework needs to be your #1 priority. And we, as Greeks, have done more than our share of our duty. We, as a new government, have already changed our internal asylum legislation. We process asylum applications much more efficiently. We're setting up new pre-removal detention centers on our islands. We are addressing the burning question of unaccompanied minors. And of course, in spite of completely baseless accusations, we continue to save hundreds of people at sea every month. But we are about to reach our limits. The country of first entry cannot and should not bear the burden of migratory pressures on our own. The agreement between the European Union and Turkey needs to be respected. Turkey needs to do more to fulfill its share of the deal. The recent significant increase in the number of migrants and refugees crossing the Aegean is unacceptable. It is also, unfortunately, indicative of how migration is also being used as an instrument for international pressure. We need to recognize that Turkey is hosting millions of refugees. But at the same time, we also have to make it absolutely clear that Europe will not be blackmailed on this issue. It is time for fewer irresponsible statements. It's time for more honest dialogue. We need to do three things if we want to successfully address this problem. We have to protect our borders. There has to be more burden sharing. And at the same time, we need to attack the root cause of the problem, which is war, but also poverty in significant parts of this world. You cannot solve the problem unless you address all three issues simultaneously. On climate change, we really have three options. We can either deny that the problem exists. I don't think there's a single person in this room that would agree with this approach. We can choose to be followers, or we can choose to be leaders. And I choose the third option. The European People Party needs to be at the forefront of responsible climate politics, not just because it's the ethical thing to do, but because it's also the politically wise thing to do, taking into consideration that it is the only way we can reconnect with a younger generation that cares deeply about this challenge. One issue in particular, it was also raised by Christianis. If we want to implement successful climate change politics, we need to be sure that the losers of this transition are taken care of. That is why I place so much faith in the just transition mechanism as an instrument to support those communities that will be hit from a fast transition towards a low-carbon economy. We have taken the bold decision in Greece to shut down all our lignite plants by 2028. But we have one region of Greece, Western Macedonia, that will lose thousands of jobs as a result of this transition. We need to offer them an alternative, and the Just Transition Fund needs to be funded through a separate line in the MFF, because otherwise these people will not be on board, and we need them on board in order to be at the forefront of climate change politics. Dear Donald, I wish you all the best in your new job. We should never forget that the EPP has always been the political force offering realistic solutions to complicated problems. It was by rising up to very complicated challenge that this union was created. Therefore, now we need to always act according to our values, our ethos, our legacy, and I am sure that this time again we will demonstrate responsibility, foresight, and the courage, above all the courage, that befits our political family. Thank you very much.
It is a pleasure now to introduce the President of National Liberal Party and the new Prime Minister